Thank you all for tuning in. The following is a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch III, coming to you live from the palatial home studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Malden, Missouri. And joining me from more than acceptable safe social distances through the miracle of telephony are my guests for today. We have Keldamuzik Diva, who helps, who's a music artist and helps other musicians achieve their goals. And great to have you. How you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you, Bill?
Doing just great. The chickens are fine. As I was telling Joseph, I've recently become a chicken farmer. So I've got these little tiny baby chicks. Yeah. And it's being a lot of fun. They're so cute. But and then my other guest today is Joseph M. Lenard. How you doing, Joseph? Joseph, of course, is a prolific author, and author of Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You, and how to write and get published. Is that I always get the title of that one wrong, and that's the one I wrote for.
There's a blurb. There's a blurb from Bill in How to Write a Book and Get It Published, Hints, Tips, and Techniques, which Keldamuzik. I think she dropped off. But anyway, I always say, things could always be better, but they could often be worse, right? Of course, it's good to hear, Bill. The chickens have finally come home to roost. Ba-dum-bum.
Yes, indeed, they are. And as I normally start the show, who? I got to remember, who are you reading right now?
Nobody, because I'm busy putting together my Constitutionalist Politics 2 book that I hope to drop June 1st. So, as the saying goes, busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest with that and my own Constitutionalist Politics podcast show. I've stepped up. That was Saturday only. Now I've been dropping some midweek, mid-month discussions. So getting busier.
That's great.
Don't have time for the other stuff. But
I hear you.
I would say what I have read most recently, though. I had Liz Enton, who's an atheist, who came on my show about the afterlife, the scientific aspect, and me from the religious aspect of it regarding my Constitutionalist Politics show. Her book, WTF, just happened. So I read that to prep for the show. I have it over on the other couch, otherwise I'd hold it up. I don't want to go out of frame to grab it.
Understood. Yeah. Keldamuzik, what we're talking about is what Joseph has most recently read. And I'll ask you too, who are you reading right now? Okay. Yeah.
I wrote an article myself the other day about AI and did one of my Constitutionalist Politics show on AI. And in it, I quote Rush, the group, not the talk show host, right from Spirit of Radio. All its machinery making modern music can still be open-hearted, not so foolish-hearted, really just a question of your honesty.
Yep, your honesty.
Yeah. Because you can cheat a whole lot with AI these days in both writing books, writing articles, recording music. So, Rush was ahead of their time in talking about that. Because, even, 20, 30 years ago when Spirit of Radio was recorded, indeed, all all the things you could do. We lost her again with modern tech to manipulate your music and your voice, like auto tune and all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've used ChatGPT, but never to write, only to organize. I found when I've tried to use it to write things that it comes out kind of stilted, and you can tell, and I've had a couple of people tell me, "Oh, that's written with AI, wasn't it?" And also, so it's not something you can really get away with, not yet,
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. And the issue of copyright and plagiarism laws
Hmm.
aren't quite there yet because, being a former IT guy, the old GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, I talk about that in
Yeah.
my AI article and my AI show. Uh, you, even though the terms of service may say you can use it, grabbing a source and not using citation, and therefore
Right.
it is plagiarizing. And if you use it, you are plagiarizing and in violation of copyright law, like the whole, Claudine Gay at Harvard incident of late has kind of brought that all back to the forefront. So
Hmm.
yeah, ChatGPT and other chatbots, I do go into that. That's great for, like you said, organization or some, maybe some thoughts that you're not. I'm thinking of doing a book on such and such and such.
Yeah.
What might be some good chapters? And it might
Right.
jog something in your brain you hadn't thought of to then include. But yeah, using
Hmm.
it to write it and claim it as your own,
Yeah.
highly unethical and immoral, in my opinion. And it
Mm.
may indeed be violation of copyright, clearly
Yeah.
plagiarism.
Yeah.
unless
Yeah. What?
unless you openly state that in your article
Right.
or your book, parts of this book generated by ChatGPT. You could have a disclaimer, of course, but
Yeah. Yeah, you could. One thing I've heard though isn't so much that it plagiarizes as that it makes up sources and quotes, um, which would definitely be hurtful if I was using it in my master's classes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or you take a you ask Genesis, Google Genesis, to show you a picture of a Nazi, and it shows a black guy in a Nazi helmet. No.
I've seen those pictures. I've seen those pictures.
The
Yeah, Genesis
DEI,
seems to be
yeah,
quite DEI. Yeah.
yes,
let's
DEI
let's
beyond
rewrite
belief.
history.
Yeah, yeah. George Orwell is really spinning in his grave.
I wonder if Genesis could produce a picture of that.
Hey, that's that is a good idea. I need to try that. That would be fun.
Oh, we've just been talking about AI and people using it to
Mhm.
Cheat.
cheat, basically,
Yeah.
and yeah, and yeah,
AI
we
is controlling
we
everything.
yeah, it's definitely coming up there. I don't think it's really, based on what I've seen anyway. I don't think it's really in a position to replace anybody yet. It's still in a position where it's a tool. Um,
Yeah.
that people who know what they're doing can use it. It'll get there where it'll be able to replace people. Hopefully, it'll just replace the mundane jobs that nobody really wants to do anyway. Kind of like the robot janitors that they have at some stores that keep running through the aisles, and then what is it? Walmart's got one that goes through the aisles and checks the inventory. So that's not so bad. Because who wants
No,
to do
yeah,
inventory checks?
yeah,
Right,
If
yeah,
right.
that's the job you're relegated to, you need some help.
yeah.
And I know plenty of people who would be happy to help you get yourself to the
Although
point
there's
where you
nothing
could have
bad
a better
about
job.
that as a job, as an entry level job. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you kind of zoned out there, so Bill, I'm not sure. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
sorry.
a fine entry level job to work yourself up to another position in, though. I
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't demean that job. That's, it's a great
No.
minimum wage entry
Honest
level
work
job.
is
But yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
Honest
as
work is
Keldum
honest work.
Yeah, but as Keldum Riverside Connection was zoned out again, I mentioned GIGO because I'm a former IT garbage in, garbage out. The problem with these
Yeah.
are the sources it data mines from. And these are all coded, programmed by humans. And they're
Mm-hmm.
coded by humans with an agenda other than honesty and reality. So you use these things and it spits out delusional garbage rather than stuff based on reality. So if that
Yeah.
remains the case, it's never going to be useful for other than, like you said, Bill, AI menial tasks and chores, especially if some keep pushing this $20 minimum wage stuff. A rural McDonald's that's barely surviving as a franchise can't pay someone to flip burgers and take orders $20 an hour because the
Yeah.
cost of living in rural Missouri is far different than it is in St. Louis, Missouri.
That's very true. That is.
It looks like Bill
Oh,
froze again on
I've
us.
frozen. There we go. I'm back. I think I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Although.
Do your Schwarzenegger thing. We need you to do your right. I'm back. Or that wouldn't be
I'm no
Schwarzenegger.
that
Schwarzenegger was
no.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Although I was surprised when I came out here to rural Missouri how expensive things are. Compared to Southern California, food is actually more expensive because there's no competition between stores. There's one grocery store in town, and they can
Yeah.
charge whatever they want,
Yeah.
and they do.
And the
Um,
and the and the rural shipping costs with the cost
yeah.
of diesel right now, everything
Oh yeah.
costs. They've got to factor in that diesel fuel transportation cost that you
Yeah.
know
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah,
oh,
the things that cost less out here are definitely the the cost of property is way lower. My cousin and I were able to afford to buy a house on a piece of land and all, and that's why we can have chickens and a garden and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, yeah.
and then gasoline is way cheaper here than it was in California.
Oh
Like by
gosh.
Oh,
half.
Yeah,
ab-
Yeah,
gas is sky high up here.
yeah.
Like,
We
yeah.
have a refinery, marathon refinery just outside in Detroit city limits proper, and they've expanded. So our gas is a little cheaper, even though Detroit, the big rural urban center, our gas is
Mhm.
indeed a lot cheaper than a lot of other places too, because the
Yeah.
refinery is right there. And speaking of Schwarzenegger, since you keep freezing, Bill, remember the Batman movie? I'm going to start calling you Mr. Freeze. Schwarzenegger played Mr. Freeze in
Chill.
Batman. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. Although I never actually watched that particular movie. I stopped watching when Jerry Schumacher started making the movies because that was just so much worse. It was so awful. Um,
Yep.
but yeah. And I was frozen again.
Yeah, no,
There
well,
we go.
actually, you didn't on my
Maybe.
end
No,
anyway.
we
Yeah,
can hear you.
yeah, and we better get
Well, keep going.
Keldamuzik.
Don't
We
stop.
better get Keldamuzik in here while she's still on screen.
Oh,
Yeah,
Right.
goodness gracious.
say something,
Okay,
Kelda.
I hear
Say
you breathing,
something.
so I must be back.
Testing. No, I'm just
No?
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, goodness. Well, at least I haven't dropped off entirely
Yeah,
yet.
so
So yeah, so let's
right,
take
yeah,
the
like
opportunity to talk about your projects. Let's see. Well, Keldon, ladies first. I'm not too proud to be sexist about that. What is it you do? What is it you do, and how can we promote you?
Yes, I'm a music artist, actress, talk show host. I have a talk show on Tubi called Diva Talk Tonight.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It went up actually sometime last year. So
Okay.
you guys can see 12 episodes, 12 beautiful episodes of me interviewing guests, mostly in the entertainment industry. And also too, I have a new EDM project out right now. It's called Fall Apart. Definitely trying something new. I love dance music, tech music, anything that just gets you up and dancing and feeling good, especially in the
Nice.
morning when it's, hard to get up to do your obligations that day. It's like, okay, I
Yeah.
just need a cup of Rise mushroom coffee and listen to my dance music and I'm up. Also too,
Nice.
I have a line of berets called TAMS, TAMZ.
Okay.
Because of TAMS, I've been hosting a lot of fashion shows, and the cool thing about it is I normally I have my customers that walk the runway in the berets, so it gives
Cool.
the average person or just really anyone a chance to feel like a queen for a night by walking the runway wearing, the beret. Doesn't matter how tall you are, how short you are,
Mhm.
how much weight you have or how much weight you don't have. This is all non-traditional models, and I'm proud to have them on the runway and give them an opportunity. So,
Great.
yeah, that's currently what I'm working on.
Very cool. Very cool. And
Yes,
then
and it's
you
on
have a
exclusively
website.
on Amazon. There's 10 different colors.
Okay.
Hmm.
Exclusively on Amazon. Okay. We'll be sure. I'll be sure to
Yes.
put the link up in the description so people can find them.
Yep, it's linked through
And
the Keldamuzik website.
okay, great, great. Yeah, then we'll just put that up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Then that's what
Yes.
we shall do there. Yeah, because we want people to have an
I've
easy
got
time finding your stuff. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Joseph.
I've
definitely.
I've I've got a question for her. I rarely put mushroom on my pizza, let alone have a mushroom flavored drink. Really?
Yeah, it's called Rise Coffee, RYZE. And I'm still actually learning about the product more myself because I'm not a coffee drinker. And so it had all the ingredients in there, of course, mushrooms. However, it doesn't taste like mushrooms. It does taste like coffee. And
Oh,
it
good.
and it believe it or not, it doesn't have much caffeine in it. So when you're drinking it and you start to gain a lot of energy, you don't feel wired, you don't have the jitters.
Mhm.
And that's the thing I hate, absolutely I hate about coffee. You'll have one or two cups of it, and the next thing you know, you're just like, you know what I mean? You can't stop moving, you can't stop talking. Oh my gosh! So this coffee, I should have brought it with me, but yeah, this coffee gets me up and going every day, and it doesn't. It tastes really good. You
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
mix sugar, cream in it. Yeah.
I I'm
I've
a
heard of
I,
these mushrooms. They're
Hmm.
oh, the name of the mushroom escapes me right now, but yeah, I've heard of some people making coffee with it, and I've tried some brands. Not I haven't tried Rise yet, but I've tried some other brands, and they
Hmm.
are pretty tasty coffees. and all
Yeah.
those
And
mushrooms
it
are
gives you
supposed to
natural
really
energy.
get you going. Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah.
I'm a loudmouth and talk all the time. People tell me I need to take a breath, but during my sentences, because I will and could talk for 5 minutes without having to take a breath. So I don't need caffeine to be hyped up, and and mushroom is good for you as long as you're not dropping magic mushrooms in there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's probably some great benefit to having some mushroom extract in those coffees, so that's good.
Yeah, and and the thing is, it doesn't get you hyper or anything. It just wakes you up, and that's what I really like about it. And it naturally wakes you up. And I've tried all kind of different supplements to get my energy going, but for me, Rise is the best. So it's like I can't see myself living without it.
Yeah, I don't. I've maybe had 1 or 2 cups of coffee just to get the taste back in
hmm
like two decades. So
hmm
I average 1 cup of coffee per decade these days lately. I don't really do coffee. And I've even cut way down on the caffeinated beverage. I have
Yeah.
health issues, so my doctor wants me drinking the filtered bottled water, to protect the
Ah.
liver and the kidney.
Yeah.
And like I said, I generally don't need the caffeine either. Although I do suffer from chronic fatigue immune dysfunction,
Hmm.
uh, I just deal with that. I take naps in the afternoon at times. This Bill's cutting into my nap time with this show, but it's been a slow month, so I figured I'd come slum it with Bill.
Yeah.
Just a joke, people. Just a fun-loving jab at my friend Bill. Just all in good fun.
Yep.
I love
We're all
afternoon
about
naps,
having the
by
fun
the
around
way.
here.
I
Oh
love
yeah.
afternoon naps. My issue is afternoon nap that's supposed to be an hour turns into 2 or 3 hours, and then next thing you know, when it is time for me to go to bed at night, I'm just wide awake
That
online on social media.
that's the
So
problem. That's a
yeah,
problem when a nap becomes more than just a quick cat nap. Yep.
right.
Yep.
I'll start texting friends and family at like 2 a.m. in the morning. They're like, "Did you just come home from the bar, from the club?" I said, "No, I just can't freaking sleep. I took a cat nap earlier.
Yeah. I've done
More
that.
like a bear nap."
I found for me that if I can limit it to less than half an hour, a nap, that is, if I can limit it to less than a half an hour or an hour and a half, then I can wake up and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if I do something between those, like try to do it, because at less than a half an hour, it seems that your mind doesn't switch into like deep sleep and REM sleep, but at an hour and a half, it's gone through a full cycle. So
Yeah.
so that's why those 2 times seem to work pretty well for me. But yeah, I first learned about the benefits of an afternoon nap the first time I went to college, and I had a place out in the back 40 at Cal Poly in Pomona that I'd go and park my car at, and I'd go to sleep there, and nobody would ever bother me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Or even
Yeah.
like
I
just
could stay up
like
all
you
night.
said, like a 30-minute nap. That right there is like taking a quick cat nap. So your brain is not
Yeah.
fully rested yet. It's not
Right.
into the next phase of sleep. It just knows you're just getting a little bit of rest. But yes,
Yeah.
anything over an hour, you're gonna sleep for a while.
When I
Yeah.
was still working, when I first got CFID, and still trying to work before eventually I had to go on disability, I would go out to the car rather than eat lunch and try to catch a cat nap so I could make it through the afternoon at work. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
definitely known the benefits of the cat nap. And to what you were saying, Keldam, how you are allowing just kind of average everyday people to come off the street that you know to participate. I do that with my Constitutionalist Politics podcast show. I let I created still experimental, but had 3 of them so far. Listener feedback. So anyone who
Hmm.
would never otherwise have a chance to be on a podcast
Hmm.
can come on my show and talk about an episode I did, and what I got right, what they think I might have got wrong, what I might have left out. So yeah,
You wrong?
give the average yeah, never happens. I know, Bill, never happens. But yeah, give somebody who would never have a chance, and I tell them, astound your friends and baffle your enemies by being on a podcast.
There you go. Yeah. And podcasting
Absolutely.
is fun. And it comes it really I don't know, it really got popular during COVID, right? Because everyone
Yeah.
still wanted to do what they love, but everyone had to do it through the internet now. So I mean, you even have social media that have not a podcast feature, but you can like on Twitter, they have where you could start a chat,
Yeah,
audio chat.
yeah,
Instagram, you could go live with about 3 or 4 people. Facebook, the same thing. So that's what's becoming popular, and people are sticking to it.
yeah.
Yep.
Fascist book
Absolutely.
allowed you to do that way
Hmm.
ahead of everybody else. Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's a nice
Yeah.
feature. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then,
Yep.
it keeps you busy. And, especially during COVID, you didn't have to worry about, human to human contact. We're in contact digitally. So,
Right.
yeah, it
Yep.
definitely it kept me busy.
Yep. Speaking of Joseph, what have you been up to? Let's
well,
talk about your project.
yeah, of course, I've talked about my podcast, Constitutionalist Trademark Politics. I've trademarked that word. Christian
Great.
based U.S. constitutionalism to discuss our Judeo Christian foundations of the nation and getting back to, for Christians, obviously, fellow Christians and Messianic Jews, to get back to the Bible. We've become more and more worldly, and the need to get back in our Bible and remember what's there because so many people misquote scriptures or take something out of context. So I'm working on Constitutionalist Politics 2, the book, hopefully to drop June 1st this year. That coincides with the podcast and is a part 2 of Constitutionalist Politics, the book that came out last August. So, yeah, I've been keeping very busy. And of course, I still go on shows to promote terror strikes coming soon to a city near you, how to write a book and get it published, hints, tips, and techniques, which I would recommend for Calvin. You need to then write a book
Oh,
on
yeah, I definitely want to write a book. Yeah,
how to become an actual published music artist, right?
sure.
And all that. So yeah, I've been very very busy lately. Keeps me out of trouble, right? Oh,
Yeah, I
Bill's
know.
froze. Mr. Freeze froze again.
That's why I switched over to my phone because I don't know, like when it comes to streaming content for some reason, this thing just wants to give up on me. And I just
Yeah,
bought it. I just bought T-Mobile hotspot. I upgraded AT&T. I don't know what's going on here. Like freaking internet.
yeah,
Where's AI when you need it? When are they going to help
yeah.
us with the internet?
Yeah, I'm in Wyandotte, Michigan, and I left AT&T years ago. Finally, I divested myself entirely. I had bundles. I have Dish Network, They were in partnership with Dish for a while. So I had
Mm-hmm.
the Dish, my home phone, my internet, and my cell phone all bundled through them. Well, consumer cellular came along, and I couldn't pass on saving that kind of money. Now, through consumer cellular, I am paying for both my cell phone and my home phone what I was paying AT&T for either my cell phone or my home phone. So once
Mm.
that dropped and the dish dropped, because they now work with DirecTV and they of course have their AT&T Uverse, the price of the internet went way up, so I switched over to Wine.Cable internet. But now AT&T, I went back to them because they finally strung fiber optics through the neighborhood, and their fiber optic network, while expensive to put in, costs a lot less to maintain than those copper wires. In fact, I've got a
Right.
guy lives across the street who's a retired AT&T guy, and he's saying eventually you won't be able to have a copper wire home phone. They're forcing everybody to fiber and voice over IP because they've got to phase out all that old copper. It's just too expensive to maintain. An outage, you're digging up the ground, and
Yeah.
there's 10,000 wires, but there's only 100 customers on it now, and figuring out what ones are, it's just too expensive to maintain. But so eventually, you won't be able to even have that service if you wanted it at any price.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting because where I live here in San Francisco Bay Area, with AT&T, we face a lot of outages, and the first thing they said was,
Come
well, there's
on.
probably people ripping out the copper. It's not always the rain or natural disasters or whatever. It's people ripping out the copper. So that's why your AT&T is not working. So then I switch back to Comcast. I get like a bundle package, like how you did with Dish Network. And what one thing that sucks about that, you get the whole bundle package. If your TV goes down, your internet's down, your cell phone's down, everything's down, and it's like, oh my god, what did I just do here? So I'm starting to learn the tricks, and I only have now I have Comcast TV, and I use AT&T and T-Mobile for internet. So let's see how that combination works out in the next couple months.
Yeah. Well, so far, after the initial problems, you dropping off, you stayed on now. So that's good. But you're right. I didn't think about that part. All the copper thieves going into homes and ripping it out so they can take it for scrap. Because
Yes.
the value of copper right now is way up. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they're literally trying to steal copper anywhere they can get it in order to sell it for the scrap cost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
My church out in Southern California. Well, the church before last in Southern California. Somebody climbed up on the roof and stole all the copper wiring from the church's air conditioning in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
And it was awful. We had fans set up everywhere, and it was hot, and it was just terrible.
No.
But
oh my gosh.
The cost of copper is such that the value of copper is such that the people even steal it from a church. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah.
As long as they get it, and like you said, they take the scraps and resell it or whatever they want to do with it, and we're asked out.
I mean, that is happening in Michigan too, but both of you gave a California example. I was on Rick Walker's Maverick News show the other day, or no, it was another one. I forget what one I was on, but I was, with the way things have gotten with crime and the communism, I will never ever set foot in California, New York, or any province of Canada now ever again. Even though Canada, me being in Detroit, is right across the river. I used to vacation there all the time. You know, going to Windsor, Ontario, Canada, for me is like you going over to Kansas City, not Missouri, but the other Kansas City, right? It's just a bridge over the river away. You think very little of it, but it's a whole other country, and they are way off the deep end over there. So I will, even being the author of Terror Strikes, and, if they invited me to go speak at the 9/11 memorial, I'd have to say, no, sorry. I respectfully decline. I will never, ever set foot in New York State ever again. It's just out of control, the crime and everything,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've been ridiculous. I haven't heard so much about Canada getting anything bad. They're always still proclaimed to be the nicest people in the world, but
Canada.
And I've had several Canadian guests, but yeah, definitely New York and California are just in a terrible spot right now with the policies that their governments have enacted. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it is.
Canada with premier blackface Trudeau, as I call him. Have you seen that blackface photo of him? Literally seizing the bank accounts of the Canadian truckers who held that freedom rally. I mean,
wow,
they are way down the fascism rabbit hole over there. So never again will I set foot in that country ever again.
Well, hopefully things will get bad enough that their people make their governments change, But yeah, primarily I got out of California just because it was too expensive. We weren't having trouble with the crime or the liberal policies or anything at that point. But yeah, watching the clips of news on YouTube and all, it's just been getting crazy over there. And it's just kind of glad we got out when we did.
Yeah, so. Gavin Newsom is even talking about now doing what Governor Jokel did in New York and calling out the National Guard to supposedly clean up the drug issue in San Francisco and LA. Like Governor Jokel in New York, don't change the sanctuary policy that is inviting illegal people to be there and then commit more illegal acts. Don't change the DA prosecutions to actually put criminals behind bars. No, let's call out the National Guard, put them in the subway as a pretend show of force in an election year, which there was a stabbing. Someone was pushed in front of a subway train and killed just the other day in New York.
That.
It's not doing any good. It's just a pretend show for the election year.
Right. The security theater, I've heard it called once. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the TSA, and that they've done with the TSA and getting people on airplanes. It's ridiculous. It doesn't actually. No one has actually been stopped because of the TSA. It's just it's a show of it's like you said, like you called it, a show of force, such as it is, and it's ridiculous. They need to do things that actually protect people, not things that pretend.
I wrote an article for the Liberty Beacon just the other day called The Tale of Two National Guard Deployments, New York and Texas. In Texas, they have the Guard to try to uphold rule of law and border security, whereas Jokel is just doing it to cover for all her idiotic policies she refuses to change. And you're right, they're not. The TSA is worthless. Test after test after test, they have gotten mock weapons through the TSA and onto planes. It doesn't do anything. And Jokel isn't allowing the National Guard to have their weapons with them. She's disarmed them. They are indeed just like thousands standing around, and instead of bringing stop and frisk back, if someone is acting suspicious because they've got a gun tucked in their pants, and stopping that person through the stop and frisk law that the left constantly decries. No, they're doing the TSA thing. They're checking kids with backpacks, which is not to say a kid can't have a gun in a backpack. But they're also harassing the 20-something female in the pantsuit carrying a bag trying to get to work. It is just harassing law-abiding citizens in the name of security theater, as you said.
Yeah, it's just it's ridiculous, and not to say that that liberals are the only ones who do this kind of thing, but definitely we need to take some harder stances on crime, and get things on a more even keel. It's ridiculous that Biden got in trouble for referring to a murderer as an illegal alien when he during the State of the Union address, when he referred to the guy who allegedly killed Lake Riley.
Right.
As I fly away on my little wings.
Yeah. Air quotes for those on audio only. We're both holding up.
Yes, air quotes for those on. Yes, the allegedly murderer of Lake Riley is an illegal alien during the State of the Union address. It's just ridiculous that he got in trouble and apologized for it.
Yep.
It's just.
He apologized to the illegal alien murderer, not to the family of Lake Riley, for allowing the illegal alien to be here to then murder their child.
Or even apologizing for calling her Lincoln instead of Lakin.
Yeah, right. And before we go before we go any further, for those looking on video, you could see that she dropped off. We discussed prior the show starting, actually recording. She only had 45 minutes to spend due to another commitment. So that's why she's gone. Just so
that's
people are aware.
Keldamusic's gone.
Yeah, that's why. Yep. So people are aware. Her internet didn't go out again or whatever. She only had a 45-minute window.
Okay, I'd forgotten about that. I was paying attention to the timer and not the time. So but yeah, it's just it's ridiculous the way things are going. I'm glad it hasn't hit here in Missouri yet. Maybe I've gone out.
No, you're here. I can hear you.
No, I'm here. Okay, your image is frozen on my screen.
Oh?
So I thought I had locked up again. But yeah, I'm glad it hasn't hit out here in peaceful rural Missouri. We've still got law and order here on our side, and in the bigger towns around, we see things like people begging on the street corners and whatnot. But that hasn't hit us here in Malden yet. So
well, thankfully, too, in Detroit, to Detroiters' credit, because all the urban centers have gone ridiculously woke and are electing these idiot Soros-backed woke DAs who won't prosecute criminals. Kim Worthy, who I have issues with, but thank God they re-elected her Wayne County prosecutor rather than the DA of the Soros-backed challenger to her when she was last elected. And she's been somewhat tough on crime. We don't have James Craig as police chief of Detroit anymore. He's gone on. He ran for governor, failed. Now there's talk of him running for U.S. Senate in Michigan if he could get on the ballot. But there's like a dozen people vying for the GOP Senate primary nomination for that.
Mhm.
But I don't know the name of the person who replaced Chief Craig, but he's also doing a reasonable job in indeed cracking down and making sure crime does not become out of control and rampant in Detroit. So thankful the
Good.
people in our area, even though they seem to back these communist, fascist idiots a lot of the time, they didn't this last time. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus, for showing some people some brain light, some logic and reason. Look what's going on in New York. Look what's going on all across California. Are you that stupid? Do you want that here? And they said no. They're still voting for some idiots who are soft on crime and allowing this stuff to happen, but they rejected the ultra left, ultra woke crew who literally come out and say, the criminals are really the victims here. No, they're not.
Yeah. I mean, there are things that we can do to help the possible criminal element. The kids who live in the situations where they might eventually become members of gangs or criminals of other kinds, and and helping in those situations. But once you commit a crime, you need to be treated like a criminal. That's and it's.
I'm a conservative. I coined the term constitutionalist. I call myself that more now than a conservative, because even conservatism has gotten this bad rep and bad name these days. So, I make no bones about it. I'm a constitutionalist by choice, a Republican only by necessity. But I'm not a hyper-partisan idiot. I'm not going to be here and just wear my Republican hat. Let me talk about Bill Clinton and praise Bill Clinton. That is absolutely one thing. Him working with Newt Gingrich, the Speaker of the House, absolutely did right. The midnight basketball program, right? To help keep kids out of gangs and remove them from their idle hands, do the devil work, as they say, right? Keep them busy with having midnight basketball programs available so they're not engaged in and involved with the gangs and getting involved in these crimes. We need to bring that back. I would like to see the next president, if it's Trump, whomever, I would encourage Biden to do it. We need to bring that back.
Yeah.
But, the left today is all about just coddling the criminals, not trying to keep them off the streets or prevent others who, like you say, are on the fringe and susceptible to being pulled into criminal activity, busy so that they don't escalate, because no one starts with murder, right? It's like the drug issue. People don't jump right to heroin. People like to push back. Marijuana is not really a gateway drug. Well, anyone who does harder drugs, 99.9% of them started with marijuana. So, yes, I'm sorry. In that sense, it is a gateway. If you don't do marijuana, you're never likely to go to heroin.
Right. But most of the people who do marijuana aren't going to go to heroin.
Don't. Exactly.
Right.
Right. No,
Right.
that's fair and needs to be said. But,
Yeah.
no one starts usually with murder either. You start
Mhm.
with shoplifting and other petty crimes. Then they may go to
Right.
robbery. Then they may
Yeah.
escalate to armed robbery. And then they may murder someone, not even intending to, in a botched armed robbery gone wrong. So
Right.
that's why I've written many times an article, one called "Should Be the Dull Moment for the Left, but Won't Be," regarding all this crime. And I mentioned Rudy Giuliani's broken windows policy. It
Mhm.
works. You stop the smaller stuff, and those are either usually people that would then escalate to other crime or are indeed also involved in other more serious crimes. But like Capone, you get them for tax evasion, you get them off the street, right? You get somebody for
Yeah.
jumping the turnstile on the subway. They're not there then to stab somebody on the subway. Hello,
Right.
stupid people. This is common sense.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, but it's in the name of being kinder and gentler, people are letting others get away with murder, quite frankly. And yeah, we need to stop that. We need to help the people who are on their way toward becoming criminals, and
I dare add,
and all.
I dare add, and this is going to surprise some people because born and raised Catholic, the author of a show and books, Constitutionalist, we need to bring back the death penalty. Permanently remove these people from the streets. There's no reforming a reoffending murderer. You need to put them to death. Why are we keeping prison space tied up with them when other smaller crimes we need that jail space for people who can hopefully be reformed and returned and become productive members of society? But a lot of Christians are against the death penalty.
Well,
Again, I say read your Bible. Genesis, Leviticus,
yeah.
Numbers. The death penalty is biblical. It is. That who shall shed his man's blood,
Yeah, it is
by
biblical.
his blood shall be shed. It is biblical.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, the reason I hesitate about the death penalty isn't because I don't believe in its efficacy, because I do believe that that person is never going to commit another crime once they've been put to death. My problem with it is that it's so expensive, decades to and I'm certainly not against a cruel death penalty. I don't think that they should be put to death in some cruel manner. I mean, we should treat them better than they treated the people that they killed. But yeah, it takes so much money, so much effort, and manpower. It's ridiculous. And
I'm not for bringing back public hangings. I'm not saying that. I'm for
bring back the guillotine.
I'm for humanely putting them down. But yes, as part of revamping the death penalty, and maybe we need a constitutional amendment. We need to limit the appellate process, and which is why I'm for the death penalty for multiple offenders or mass murderers, not somebody, like I said, a botched robbery, kills somebody, and convict them of manslaughter or negligent homicide, not murder, not a one-time, one-person killer, as bad as that is, but multiple repeat offenders who, look, you've been found guilty of murder on multiple accounts. There's no question, you're a murderer and you need to be removed from society. We need, as part of the process,
Right.
to limit those appeals and this dragging it out forever. And the other thing is, of course, people are tepid because of collateral damage, right? And again, why I say not a one-time murderer. Some people are convicted of murder that did not commit a murder. It happens. Our system isn't perfect. So I'm not for putting that person to death because it's possible, and also why I support all these innocence projects, that are about appealing cases where someone is wrongfully convicted. Yes, it happens. But as in war, as in all things in life, I'm sorry, it's not heartless to say collateral damage happens. And I will mourn when it does. But you can't just let all these murderers back out on the street because one innocent person indeed became collateral damage.
Right. Well, so much space is taken up in our prisons by drug offenses. It's ridiculous. I mean, there are still people in prison today for possession of marijuana, simple possession, and even the possession of the harder drugs don't deserve imprisonment. Those people need help. They're sick. That would take care of so much of our prison problem if simple drug offenses were taken care of. But
I agree. I'm all for locking away the drug dealers, the ones peddling this poison to our children. Lock them away. But the average person, minor couple gram possession, should not be in jail. Likewise, you said like first time, because they can no longer get opioids because we're stupid and we've regulated those. People in real pain are buying drugs, including heroin, out on the street because they really are in pain. It's not that they want to be a drug addict. They're in real pain and have little other choice. They should be given help, not put behind bars. Now, again, I'm all for 3 strikes laws, though, too. Over and over and over, multiple offenders, then you do prison time. You've been given the chance for help and reform and returning to productive society. You failed to do it. We lock you away. But yes, the first option can't be automatically lock them away. It's dumb. You create more hardened criminals. Someone goes to prison for simple possession. They're in there with hardened criminals. They learn the craft of harder crimes. They come back out. That's on their record. They have trouble. They are, like you said, then kind of, in this case, a bit of a victim. I'll grant that because they've got little choice then to turn to crime. And we need to do better that we don't put them in that position. I am in complete agreement with you, Bill, on all of that.
Yeah. Yep.
It's also why in Michigan a few years ago, when Rick Snyder was governor, I was all for in support of not the social justice garbage of weakening all crimes, but we did do justice reform in Michigan under Rick Snyder and created an expungement board. I am absolutely positively all for someone who committed a crime, did their time, is not engaging in more crime, have been reformed and out, having their record sealed. Not completely erased. The police need to see it. If they do commit a crime, it is relevant and should be able to be brought into court. So maybe not although we call it expungement, it's so that it's not visible to the general public that maybe
Right.
they were convicted of a felony. But hey, you did your time. You're back out now. I want you to be gainfully employable.
Yeah. Yeah, and because so many people, that's the problem. They've gone to prison and they come back out. They know all these things that they learned in prison, and they can't get jobs. They can't get a place to live. They can't, because everybody's like, "Oh, you're a criminal." It's like, of course they're going to be a criminal. Now you've taken away all their options, and we people once they do their time, they need to have options, and because otherwise, how can they choose the good life?
Yeah.
The high road. And if you don't give them the opportunity to choose that, they're not going to have a choice but to choose something else.
To go along with the Innocence Projects that help criminals who have been wrongfully convicted, there are now more and more organizations. There's one in Detroit that strictly helps former convicts get jobs. So they work with companies to hire these former prisoners, former criminals. So indeed, there's one place in Detroit that only has, I can't say the name, I don't remember it. It only hires former convicted criminals. So they can indeed have honest, earnest living. We have to have those options. I agree with you 100%. And that, as a Christian, is a Christian thing to do. Do we not believe in repentance? Do we not believe in second chances? We say we do. We have to walk the walk also.
Right. Yep. So, speaking of walking the walk, I think it's about time to. We've gone at this for quite some time, and and I mean, shoot, I could talk about this stuff with you all day long, Joseph.
Yeah.
But we have to leave them wanting more. So, do you have any final words for the nice people?
Well, of course, I've got to. If you don't promote, you don't make sales, right?
That's right.
I've got to say, find me on my two main websites, josephmlenard.us. It looks French. It's not. It's not Lenard. It's Lenard without an O. josephmlenard.us. My number one Amazon bestseller, terrorstrikes.info site. Of course, you can go to tinyurl.com to find my before it's news pieces. And you can also go to thelibertybeacon.com, put Joseph M. Lenard, again, not French, Lenard without an O, Joseph M. Lenard in the search bar to see my authored writings there. And tinyurl.com. Sorry, I don't mean to go overboard here, but I got to promote my show to url.com. We'll take you to my podcast. Yeah. Well, I do have a Linktree account, because I mean, I've got like 2-3 dozen links I could share. So you can go to link.re. All my links are there. Like a couple dozen links are there. So there's that. I was just giving out my Linktree information because they could see 3 dozen links for me there. But yeah, we could do a whole show just of online links.
Yep. Today's special show is all of Joseph M. Lenard's links. Well then, on behalf of Keldamuzik Diva, I wish you all a wonderful day. Remember to be safe out there, and wash your hands, and stay tuned for the ending credits. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank our producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch. I'd especially like to thank our associate producer, Paul Hernandez III, for his contribution to the shows this month. Follow his financial channel, HDZ Financial, on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram to stay on top of the latest financial news and improve your financial literacy. I, of course, am your humble host. I'd also like to thank my special guests, Joseph M. Lenard and Keldamuzik Diva. Support the show if you feel so led over on patreon.com. We're known as Bald Spots Pro. Don't you dare miss YWL Online. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are offered. Be sure to tune in next time when my special guest will be George Ishii. George is leading individuals to be millionaires, starting with only a penny. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. If you or someone you know needs support now, call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. That is the suicide and crisis lifeline here in the United States.